All right, so good morning, guys. My name is Mickey V, and I'm here with Denise today, who is a local model here in Arizona. And today we're going to be talking about just self-care, being a little selfish. You know, you recently went through a lot of stuff that you feel like really taught you a lesson, and we have to go through that stuff sometimes just to like learn the things. But before that, I have a question.
Okay.
A random question I just looked up on the internet. Can you rap?
No.
You can't rap?
No.
You told me about how you grew up in Mesa, and I was like, I bet you ever listen to like SPM growing up?
Yes, I love it.
See, that's why I was like, I bet you should listen to all that music.
When I was little, I would like try to rap super fast by Nicki Minaj. That's the most gonna get.
Gotcha, and that is really fast.
Yeah.
Too. Okay, so you can't rap?
No, I
Can you
can't
sing?
I think I can, but no.
Where do you sing, like in the car?
In the car and in the shower, that's it.
Gotcha.
I'm not gonna go anywhere public.
That's a lot of people. Like, so if there was karaoke, you wouldn't do karaoke?
Me actually.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It seemed like you'd be fun. Like you would do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're yeah, I feel like I'll do it for fun.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So getting into it.
Yeah. Okay.
So you wanted to talk about being a little selfish.
Yes.
Which to a lot of people sounds like a hard word.
Mm-hmm.
Like selfish. Like you don't ever want to be known as being a selfish person.
Mm-hmm.
But you recently feel like you've experienced a lot of stuff that just taught you like.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about like why do you want to talk about that topic of being selfish?
Because I learned that like this year I really did lose myself. Like I really did. From like I said, I can't name you one thing that I actually did for myself that made me happy. You know what I mean? That I did things for my future, for myself, things that I like. I really did nothing about it.
You spent your time doing things for other people.
And like I said, it was a little favors. It
Right.
was like drastic
tell me
changes.
about it. You just did these huge things
Huge
for other
changes.
people, like in your family and in your friends group and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
that's which is such a loving thing to do because it tells me that you really love art.
Mhm.
Like it seems like when you love somebody, you really love people.
Way too hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe a little too hard, you think?
Yeah. Just because I feel like self-love is really important. That's what I've learned right now that I'm like kind of like taking time to think about things. Like I've learned to like love myself and tell myself. I sweet talk myself sometimes. I'm like, Denise, like you're doing great. Like you
I
did
love
this
that.
today, you know.
Yeah.
But I did like lose myself completely. Like I said, like the modeling, I just put that aside. Myself, I just put myself aside. And I feel like that's really important for someone, the younger people, to like you know really know that like I come first sometimes. You know, like I need to make myself happy.
Right, and it is that like I come first sometimes.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be all the time.
No, not all the
And
time.
I think that's where you get into that realm of like being
Selfish,
selfish,
the actual bad selfish. And
right.
Yeah.
Instead of like this is just my self care. Like,
Yes.
I just need some time, guys.
Yeah.
For me,
Mhm.
versus people who are all the time, like that's selfish.
Yeah, I feel like if you're doing it all the time, then it is considered like the bad selfish. But if you're like kind of like balance it out and still keep yourself happy while balancing out like your family or your other relationships, then that's like just self care.
It's a balance, yeah. And we're trying to. And if you're watching, you can tell us like what's a better word for being selfish
or like
versus
self-care.
that, or self care because
Yeah.
we were still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
But I like that you sweet talk yourself.
Yes, I do.
That's super. It sounds really cute.
Mhm.
There's an idea that like you're the person you're gonna ever talk to the most,
Yes.
right? Because your own inner thoughts and inner dialogue. What are some of the things that you like sweet talk to yourself?
So I took like a huge downfall where I wasn't doing anything. I couldn't even go outside, go to the store, run errands, nothing. So when I started doing like a little more tasks, I would like say like I'm proud of you, like Denise, you're doing this, like you're one step closer to finding yourself again, you know.
Yeah.
Or in the morning when I wake up, I'll just like kind of like tell myself like, okay, like we're gonna do this today, and you got this, Denise. Like it's so important, you know. But I feel like no one really does it nowadays, where they don't put themselves first, or they don't talk to themselves and like encourage themselves, you know what I mean?
And I feel like a lot of people don't talk to themselves because they probably think that's weird,
Yeah.
not realizing they already do. Because if you think to yourself, you're talking to yourself. But some people don't know how to talk nice to themselves.
Yeah.
They talk nice to everybody else,
I was
but
like
not
that.
themselves.
I was always hard on myself, like super hard on myself. And like one thing that this whole like process has showed me is that I really know how to like really love myself, you know. And like people like they say, who's gonna love you if you can't love yourself?
Right.
And I can finally say that like I do love myself. Like I do like sweet talk myself. I encourage myself to do things every day.
That's awesome.
But I do also validate my feelings. Like if I'm feeling kind of like off a day, you know what it means, your feelings are valid, take a rest day.
It's okay.
It's okay. You know what I mean? So it's just self-care right now. It's just what I'm kind of like aiming for.
No, that's awesome. And for validating your feelings and stuff, I feel like it can be really hard for some people to validate their own feelings because they feel exhausted or maybe it's mentally, physically exhausted, but they're like, no, I gotta keep going.
Yeah.
It's like, it's okay.
It's
like
okay,
to sharpen
yeah.
the saw every now and then, right?
Yeah.
Like take some time to just really sharpen up,
Yes.
and resting can be productive too.
Yeah, and it honestly, like, I feel like people don't validate their feelings. You know, like sometimes people feel guilty for not doing certain things that they're not really like okay with. And you know what? Like your feelings are valid. Like you're completely okay with feeling the way you do. Like let your body feel what you have to feel.
Yeah.
You know, we have feelings because they're messages to our brain. You know what I mean? When you feel sad, it's like a feeling. It's a feeling that it's a message from your body to your brain. Like, hey, you know what? Like it's making me upset, but it's not like something that should drag you down. Just sweet talk yourself and be like, it's okay. It's valid.
Right.
Let me just rest today, feel it out, and move on.
Yes, I'm a big believer in that. Like, you can take some time to just validate your own feelings, but you also still have to keep moving.
Yes.
Right? It's like if something bad happens, that like something kind of gives you a setback, but you still have that goal.
Yes.
It's like you can take 5 minutes, maybe it's even 5 days, but you still got to get to that goal.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I feel like that's really a big difference between
Yeah.
people who accomplish their goals and don't.
Yes.
Because there are people who validate their feelings, but then don't do anything about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. And so that's why I'm like, my whole mindset has changed this year, and I'm like, I'm glad that it like got to the point where I'm like, okay, it needs to change. You know, I got to the point, but it sucked that it had to happen, right?
It sucks that it has to get to rock bottom
Yeah, I
sometimes
have to hit
before.
rock bottom to find out that I'm like, what am I doing? You know?
But you're not the only person. I've hit my own rock bottoms, and
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, it sucks to have to get here.
Yeah.
Like this bad for me to really do something about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need help.
We do need it, and I feel like it's made me stronger mentally.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I was very weak-minded as well. You know, kind of like my mind would close. Like if I lost an opportunity or just did something that didn't make me really happy, my mind would close. I'm like, I'm never gonna do it. So now I'm like more strong-minded. I'm kind of like open. I'm like, it's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. I'm just kind of like, right now the process is my worst and favorite part.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
I'm learning to find myself again, but I hate the process of it.
The process
Yes,
sucks.
it
And
sucks.
it's a lot of the times it's really hard. It's lonely sometimes
Yeah.
too, because people don't get like what you're doing for yourself.
Uh-huh.
So they're like, oh no, like stop doing your goals and come hang out, or like just relax. And it's like, no, this is part of the process.
Yeah,
It
it's
can
part
be
of the
lonely
process.
sometimes.
It really is.
What are some of the goals you have for yourself right now?
Goals right now is, I think right now the year is almost ending, and like I said, this whole year is like it's been like complete like drastic change after drastic change for me.
Yeah.
So I think like once the new year hits, I'm gonna just be a little more selfish with myself. You know, just kind of like make things for like myself. Maybe go to the gym again and like feel good about it, and like just work on myself. I think that's gonna put myself a little bit first than others sometimes.
Gotcha. And I think so when it comes to working on yourself, I would say there's a few realms. There's physically, so like going to the gym. There's emotionally, so like understanding, validating your emotions, taking time to like really process them, not projecting them onto others.
Yeah, no.
I think it's terrible when people
Do that.
project their feelings onto others. Like, I mean, I'm sure I've done it, right?
I'm
But
sure I've done it too.
Yeah. We're only human.
Yeah.
But I really try my best to not project. So there's like, even financially is also a way to like work on yourself, making sure you feel you don't have to be a millionaire, just like feeling financially secure. So there's a lot of ways to work on yourself, and some of that is like being a little selfish and just like, hey, I'd love to attend this event with you, or I'd love to spend some time on the couch with my family, but right now, guys, I just need to focus on this.
Yes.
And if people love you, they'll understand.
They'll understand, yeah. And like I'm really grateful because the people that I have in my life right now are super understanding. Like you know what, like I understand you, I get you, like just do what you gotta do.
That's awesome.
And they're still there, they don't get upset, they're still there when I need them. You know what I mean? So it's great when people have like the same mindset and like they understand you.
Yes, and it really is, because some people unfortunately like have their close people envy them when they want to do these great things for themselves.
Yes.
And it sucks because like those are your closest people. You don't ever want to see them in a negative way, but not everybody is at that point where they can support others.
No, there's people like, it's crazy. Friends, I'm telling you, sometimes they will envy you.
Yeah.
And they will wish like the bad upon you. You have no idea. Like the whole time you're telling them like everything your plans and what you're working on, and they're kind of like fake supporting. That sucks.
But yeah, fake supporting.
Fake supporting.
And I definitely felt it. I pick up really well on people, so I can like read energy. So they'll be like, "Oh, that's awesome, congratulations!" But in their tone or their body language, I can see that you don't mean that. Like, and it sucks. And then I'm so lucky and fortunate to have like really closest friends that like that group is solidified. We all support each other really well. So when I have like a friend who I can tell is kind of like not really supporting, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, because like I also had like the same kind of people around, and I could tell body language, tones, the matching energies. I would compare like a good friend. I'm like,
So tell me, what makes a good friend? What makes somebody a good friend?
What makes one a good friend? I think making a good friend is just someone who really has the same, not same mindset, but kind of like build together. You know, like, oh, we think the same. You know, we support each other. I might not agree with your ideas, but hey, if it makes you happy, like, I'm going to support you 100%.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's
And I do
unreal.
have that friendship right now.
Yeah.
I found a friend that I support her through everything.
Yeah.
And even if, like, there's, like, wrong ideas, like, we try to correct each other. Like, hey, you know what, don't be like that. Try working on this to see how you feel. And if you don't, like, it's completely okay. We kind of just give each other the good advice.
Yeah.
We're there for each other, and the good, bad, we cry, we laugh.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a good thing.
That's
And
awesome.
I didn't have that before.
That's awesome. That
Yeah.
sounds like a good friend for real.
Yeah.
I had a question I was going to ask you, and I got really caught into that conversation. But yeah, so having a really good friend. So if there was something that you could do differently, you know, now that you're how old?
25.
25. So first, let me ask you this question. So you're 25 years old. You've lived a lot of life in a quarter of a century.
Yeah.
What is the most important thing that you've learned through this 25 years?
These 25 years, it's an up and down, right? But I think right now, I think the biggest lesson is, oh my God, don't beg for people to be in your life.
Okay.
Since I was little, I've always begged for friends, family to be my life, and stuff like that. When they're not meant to be in your life, they're not meant to be in your life, and you're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes we force like connections because we're so used to that person in our lives.
Right.
But trust me, like it's not worth it. Like I used to beg for friendship, my family to stay around because like we were so close.
Yeah.
And I would look for them. I'd be like, hey, like let's do this, and they didn't care. They're like, yeah, whatever, Denise, you know.
Gotcha.
And I would still
you
be
just
like,
wanted that
I
like
just
love
wanted
and
them.
attention.
Yeah, and I did this since I was little.
I feel you actually. I have after my dad died when I was young, I had these like really hard attachment issues.
Yeah.
So when I would get attached to people, particularly men, and it would be really, really hard for me to let them go. And so
Yeah.
it's like I kind of get to where you're coming from. Do you feel like people have a hard time being alone?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it can be like in different ways when you say people can't be alone because there's people like, for example, girls who can't be alone who need to be in a relationship, even toxic relationships, just to not be alone.
Right, and they're like in a relationship after another. There's never a like period of time.
Yeah, and that's harmful for them. Really, they don't see it like that.
Yeah.
But it's really harmful because like you just need to learn how to be alone and love yourself. It's like that's one thing they don't do that at the moment, you know. And there's also they don't know how to be alone with like they need to have people around because like you know sometimes people who can be alone maybe have the reasons like I overthink things or like I just go into like you know maybe like
so really it's more of a distraction.
A distraction, yeah. And I feel like learning how to be alone is such a beautiful thing, really. Because I was alone for years. You know, I didn't have a boyfriend. I wasn't in a relationship. I was always alone. I loved it.
And you felt good.
I felt so good. Yeah.
95% of the time.
Yeah. There was nights, and of course it's valid to feel like lonely
Absolutely.
sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But really, like, do things for yourself. Pay your nose and watch a podcast. Or like, you know, listen to music, clean your room, or reorganize your closet. Like, I did all those things, and it was like. So
do those things that you love. Because I feel like I've gotten to a point where I'm really good at being alone. Like, I just recently went to a concert by myself and over to the Bay Area. So I took a plane and within 24 hours, I took a plane, got to the hotel, went to the concert, slept, came back on a plane, all within 24 hours. And it was really cool, actually.
That's so cool because I've always wanted to travel by myself because I've seen people
like, first time.
People like, oh, go travel, like go somewhere by yourself, and I can't do it.
Yeah.
But I wanted to. I feel like it's so cool.
Yeah, that was my first time doing it, and I feel like it's taken me a long time. Like I told you, I had these abandonment issues where like I really felt like I need to be attached to somebody.
Yeah.
And now I feel like after a lot of practice, and I even read a book like that was kind of like How to Be Alone. That's actually what it's called. So that I could get better at just being with me and enjoying myself. And I'll listen to podcasts and just work on stuff. But it's a hard process, but I really hope everybody gets there.
And it's crazy because like I feel you on the attachment level, like how you said like you love your dad. So I've always since I was little, I've always wanted a sister, an older sister.
Okay.
An older sister.
You're the only girl.
Yeah, the only girl, and I would see like friends with older sisters, and I'm like that's so cool. So I like got attached to like my older cousins.
Gotcha.
And it's not the same, but like we're at the end of the day like what it is. You're really just cousins.
Right.
And so even when I would try to force it, like me, like I want like a sister connection.
Yeah.
And I would force it, and I would get attached and attached and attached. But it was also because of I felt lonely when I was little in a house full of like two brothers, you know, or like my dad. No one to play with myself. Like, you know, I had no little cousins my age, no little sisters, no older sisters.
Yes, you know what that makes me think of? I was wondering, like, why are we that way as humans, that we have these issues, whatever they are, abandonment, attachment, and it's between you, like the things that you and I experience is things we didn't have.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, since I lost my dad so young, at some point I didn't have a father figure, so so I would get attached to these male figures because that's what I was lost. You know, and so I didn't have you, didn't have your sister like that you wanted, and so you would attach to these older cousins because that's what you didn't have as a child. And
I would force it because like, they'd be like, we're cousins. And I'm like, no, like I'm not. I don't want to be your cousin. You're my sister.
You're my sister now.
Yeah, I would literally be like that, and it's like. We did have a really good connection, but you know, just things happen, and at the end of the day, you're gonna be cousins, and they're not gonna see you how you see them.
That's just really looking at reality.
Yeah, reality.
Right, because there's optimism where you're just always happy, like looking at the positive. There's pessimism where you're just always looking at the negative, and then there's realism.
Yeah.
Right? And that's just that, like, what is really the situation? Take the emotions aside, and then if you look at it just for what it is, then you can figure out, can I make this better?
Yeah.
Or are things out of my control and I should just let it go or accept it?
Yeah. I think to the point where I'm like, I accepted it and I'm letting it go.
So you're trying to be more just realistic about things.
Because that's to the point where I was like putting people before me. Yeah. When I was wanting to plan a wedding before like everything happened, I was like, hey, like I want you guys to be my bridesmaids. And I was like, it's gonna be like within a year from now. Like you guys gonna have for PTO off your job and go to Mexico because that's where it was gonna be. And even then they're like, oh, I don't think so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, I can work my wedding around your schedule. I did that.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, that I put others first, and I'm like, what
am I doing?
What am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, why do I care?
And really, I think as you grow in life, you realize that like the circle of people who you need is so tiny.
Super tiny.
It's so tiny. And like we want all of these people. I think we see like popular people and they're like, wow, they must have so many. They might have a lot of connection. Like they might be connected to a lot of people, but with no connection.
With no connection, exactly. Yeah.
And I'd rather have a small circle of people that I just feel really connected to.
I now have only 3 friends, and I don't see them daily. We live pretty far. But oh my gosh, when I tell you, I can send them a message and like talk, and like they will send me like 5-minute voice messages and be there for me.
Oh, a whole podcast.
Yeah, like a whole podcast. Like we're there for each other, and it's like I had a whole bunch of friends, and I was there. I feel like I was there for them, or at least for like some. But I was just always like always alone, like always wondering who's gonna be there for me,
Right.
So like I feel like I have that now, and it feels good.
Yeah,
it feels good to have that.
That's awesome. And same thing, I got my boys. Shout out Jerry, Alex. Shout out Brian, Ricardo. But final question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of wrap things up. This has been really good. Oh, perfect. Okay. All right. So last question for you, and I ask this to everybody. So a lot of the reasons that I started doing this whole podcast thing is because I was a school teacher, and I really wanted to stay in touch with my students even after they weren't my students anymore. Yeah. So I got into social media. Before that, did no social media whatsoever. Didn't have Instagram. So this is all really new to me.
Okay.
So one of the things that I always wonder is like, for you yourself, thinking back to when you were in 8th grade, when you were like 13, 14, what is a piece of advice that you wish you could give little Denise?
Oh, little Denise, I would hug her right now.
Yeah?
Yes, I think little Denise, it's okay to, it's just not beg, because like I said, I would beg for friendships and like my family to be in my life since I was little. So just learn how to be alone, learn how to like disconnect with people, not to get attached, and do things for yourself. Like do things for yourself. Like I said, when I was little, I wanted to be a model when I was little. Like work on it since you're for now. Like it's not going to be instantly, but work on it.
Yes, and you mentioned how like you held that back a little bit because of your parents.
Yeah, they're like, go be a nurse, go be this, and I'm
such
like,
a Latin thing.
It's such a Latin thing, and I'm like, I want to be a model. They're like, okay.
You're
like, yeah,
so you would
sure.
tell them that he's like, not go for it, even though your parents are not.
Yeah, go for it. It's gonna make you happy, and your happiness is gonna be the most important thing at the end. Yeah. It's gonna be your happiness, not any. I mean, balance it out, right? But you matter so much.
Oh, I can tell that you've really thought about your life a lot, and just how quickly you answered that and how well. So you're an inspiration. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we'll see you later.
Yay,
That was awesome.
So fun.